Aloha. How is it? Today we're talking all about how you can create more meaningful connections on LinkedIn. So more on that in a moment. How was your weekend? We had a really fun Grom surfing contest on Saturday. So a Grom is a little person, a kid who actually goes surfing. So that's what a Grom is. And so some of our friends had kids in the competition. So basically the parents push the younger kids into waves at Waikiki and they all win medals based on their performance. So it's a super fun event and it's very low stress. The older kids are actually quite good and they get to surf and catch their own waves. You'd be surprised how good some of them already are. And you're like, oh, these are like little pro surfers in the making. Super, super fun. So we got a summertime beach setup with this solar powered battery. I've been nerding out about this lately with everyone called the Jackery. And I almost actually tested doing a live stream from the ocean because I was curious how it would work. I really want to test doing some of these live streams in a new location. So we'll see how that goes. So if you notice anything changing in the future, you'll know that I'm trying to test live streaming from the beach. So we'll see how that goes. And if you haven't checked out my podcast, the Mango Effect podcast, this week you will get to hear me talk about lessons that we can pick up from various experiences in our lives. So when we need to push through situations and do the hard thing, and also when we should actually strive to achieve balance and focus on, maybe I don't need to push so hard here. Maybe I should just kind of let it flow. So there are also another 18 or so episodes up there for you to listen to if you want to hear about all things lifestyle design, entrepreneurship, living in Hawaii, building a business, becoming your own boss, and more. But now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show on Monday afternoons if you're based in the US, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I like to call the three P's of LinkedIn. So, do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post, whether you're live or watching from the replay. Leave your questions below and I will answer them after the show or on a future episode of Mondays with Mindy. I love getting questions. I feel like I learned so much about what you're looking for, maybe topics that you would like me to cover in the future. Most of my topics actually come from questions that people ask. So just keep that in mind. If you have a question, you want me to do a live, let me know and I would be happy to answer it. So let's get to today's topic. How do you go about creating more meaningful connections on LinkedIn? I feel like sometimes we get so focused on adding more connections to our networks that we forget about deepening our existing ones. For instance, how many connections or followers do you have? Some of you may be able to rattle that answer off like immediately. Some people I talk with are like, oh, I know exactly how many I have. But are we just a little too obsessed with how many connections we have or how many connections we think we should have? Sometimes we're even a little bit shy to answer that question because we don't think we have enough connections. So many people put emphasis on being popular, how big their following is, their influence or supposed influence based on the size of their network. And it doesn't help the obsession that the social selling experts, who are supposed to kind of understand how all of this works, keep telling us how important it is to have a big network and a dazzling organic social presence before expecting any revenue, let alone new clients or a new business opportunity or a new job. So we're taught to focus on the numbers. We are taught that adding more connections and growing as quickly as we can is the name of the game on LinkedIn. And then once we've laid that foundation, then we can experience business success on LinkedIn. I get it. This makes complete logical sense, I think, from the perspective of build it and they will come. But many of my students and clients come to me with a sense of feeling overwhelmed or exasperation because many of them have spent months, sometimes years, building up a social presence and trying to add new connections who are relevant. But they still feel like there's something missing and that they have little to show for it, or it's not good enough. They're not growing as fast as so and so. So when you ask them if they'd be open to messaging someone they don't know about joining their podcast as a guest or for a call to exchange ideas, maybe explore synergy, maybe just do a quick networking call, they tense up. They get this, like, I call it like the terrified look in their eye. They'll say things like, it's a complete long shot. She'll never respond to my message. So I coach them just hit send on that message and see what happens. But you'd be surprised how small your network can be and still get the attention of those perfect fit prospects, those dreamy podcast guests, or those people you would love to collaborate with in business. So, why is it that we lack the confidence to reach out to people unless we have this mythical number of LinkedIn connections? And what is that number anyway? Like, how many connections are we supposed to have? So, rather than focusing on how many people you have inside your network, what if you could focus on the relationships you already have established inside of your LinkedIn network? What if you didn't have to keep adding to your network and you could simply find a happy place with your network size that gave you the right number of opportunities and it just evolved organically with you over time? So, we're going to talk about more on this in a moment. Aloha. For those who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I am the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a group program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. We've recently wrapped up the spring cohort, and we are already filling spots for the July cohort. If you want to get on the wait list, I will share the link at the end of this episode if you're curious. I help superstars who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become that go to visible expert in their niche so they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact on LinkedIn. In this live, we are going to talk about why not creating meaningful connections with your LinkedIn network is causing you to miss out on some major growth opportunities for your career, for your business, and how you can organically grow your network with a strategy in mind. There's a strategy behind all of this so that you can get more clients and business opportunities this year. So, are you ready? Let's jump right in. I'm really excited about today's topic. So, go ahead and like this post, whether you're live or watching from the replay, to give it some social love. So, for many of us, we are all trying to show up on LinkedIn as the best professional version of ourselves. That is really key to most of the people that I work with, most of the people I talk with on LinkedIn. We want to put our best professional foot forward. Too often, we measure our success on LinkedIn externally by how many followers we have or the number of people inside our network. I have even seen some people go so far as to put this number inside their LinkedIn headline like a badge of importance. Like, I have this many connections or this many followers. Like, all right, that's great. Good for you. How deep are your relationships with those people? That's always the question I have. The way we think about expertise being linked to these external signs of success, dare I say, number of followers on LinkedIn, it's really going away. It has shifted. That number is not as meaningful. It is not as important as people used to think it was. Instead, we're now focusing on the relationships we build with one another, which do not require a high number of other friends or followers to validate us. So, the people you want to connect with, they are not obsessed with your following, your number of connections, or how many viral posts you have right now on LinkedIn. They are looking for someone who can help them solve their problem. They are looking for someone who can support them on their professional journey. And that's likely you, right? I mean, that's why we are here. We're here to connect with each other, to lift each other up, to support each other, to work with each other, to collaborate. As a member of a number of networking organizations, business communities, professional groups, I get to work with and collaborate with dozens of people every single week from all walks of life, lots of different professions, big organizations, small, scrappy entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, authors, speakers, people in between. So, one of the common themes that I see come up over and over again. This is a question: how can I make LinkedIn work for me? I don't want to spend a bunch of time on the platform, but I want to have a healthy network filled with the people who actually matter. And I think that's so insightful because it's not about playing this numbers game. It's not about spending as much time as we can and looking really important. The good news is that you don't have to work to grow your network by sending out as many LinkedIn connection invitations as possible each and every day, week, or month. You can actually take a little bit of that pressure off yourself to grow those numbers by focusing on your existing relationships instead. A lot of times when I talk with somebody that is talking about their network and looking for new opportunities, maybe they're looking for a job, maybe they're looking to get new clients. A lot of times I will say, okay, you are so focused on trying to get more new people in and identify that target audience. But how many of those people do you already have relationships with that are already inside of your network? Maybe they know these people that you want to get in touch with. How healthy is your LinkedIn network? And can you re-spark and kind of reignite some of these relationships? So if the people we want to help and work with do not care so much about the numbers or how big our network is, what do they care about? Our connection to them, knowing that we understand them and can help them, or we know someone who can, like those people, though, you know who I'm talking about, those people who are ultimate connectors. They always know someone who knows someone who knows someone. You can find anyone when you talk to them. Those people are so valuable to have in our network, and you may be one of them. So when you have connections who are constantly referring other experts to you or telling you they told a friend about you, that's the sign of a healthy network. That's where you should really pay attention and say, huh, I'm doing better than I thought. Huh, the people engaging on my post are people I actually know. And this is something that is very qualitative sometimes, but it can trump that quantitative or that obsession. So does this necessarily translate into a massive overnight following where all of a sudden your business just grows 10x overnight? Not usually. Does this translate into new business opportunities that happen organically over time? Most definitely. So, will you be the first called on to comment as a subject matter expert? Yes, if your network trusts you, they're going to call on you when they need someone to talk about X topic. So, when you decide to make a career change, who will they think of first? You. So, when you have a healthy network and it's strategic, you care about the people inside your network. You're not just trying to collect LinkedIn followers or LinkedIn connections. The goal is to convey that we understand at a deeper level exactly what our network wants from us, whether that's to simply share a mutual professional connection because we're in the same industry, or that we can help them or people in their professional network to solve their problems. So we're all good people doing good business with each other in some way. That's what a network is. That's what a healthy strategic network is on LinkedIn. So stop worrying about how fast your network is growing and start thinking about the professional relationships you have with your existing connections. Are you known for connecting people? Do you always know what's happening in the industry? Can you provide a recommendation? Would you ask around your network to see if you could help them fill a role? When your network believes that you are there to help them, to inspire them and support them in whatever way makes the most sense, you will build a healthy strategic network over time. And the numbers will take care of themselves. But this is a choice that you will have to make for yourself. Sometimes the pull of the numbers I feel like is just too strong and addictive. Seeing those numbers like deviate from going up, 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 or maybe they even go down initially if you decide to, cull your LinkedIn network and get rid of some people that don't belong in there anymore. It can be a little disheartening at times, but you can continue trying to build up your network artificially with the wrong people or just the cheerleaders, I call them, who make you feel good about yourself in the moment, but never really want to work with you or collaborate with you. Or you can decide to let it go, as Elsa sings in the song Frozen. So the funny part is that when you take this counterintuitive approach, you're really going over deepening your connections and relationships versus just going wide. It feels very counterintuitive, but you are going to start noticing that your network is going to grow. You're like, oh, I wasn't even focusing so much on the growth, but it's going to increase effortlessly. And it has this snowball effect. All of a sudden, you notice, more customers, colleagues, experts, peers, they start kind of popping out of the woodwork. They want to work with you in some way. You're noticing a little bit more engagement on your posts. So if you're ready to ditch that stressful obsession with your network size, let's talk about 3 ways that you can go deeper with your LinkedIn connections now. So, how do you actually deepen your existing relationships with those people who are already inside your network? It's really not as hard as you think, especially if you approach the process from an organic perspective. You don't have to go all in and make spreadsheets, to track everybody and everything. You can really take a lighthearted approach to this. So, let's discuss a few tactics that will help you navigate those professional LinkedIn connections and ensure that you keep in touch with the right people often enough to maintain that connection. So, first of all, You want to pay attention to your inner circle. So I call these people, these are the people who should be in your inner circle of connections, those you really want to maintain relationships with. Now, if you're thinking, Mindy, how many people should be in an inner circle? I would say limit it to about 500 people. And that can feel like a lot for some. I have talked with others who say, Mindy, my core is really 50 to 100 people. And that feels like the right size for me. So I wouldn't go any higher than 500. 50 to 100 might be better for you. It just depends on your business. Some relationships and professional relationships, you do need to go deeper. Others, it could be really light touches. So it may not be that hard for you to keep in touch with 500 people. While others, it's like, well, Mindy, I'm actually having calls and talking with these people. I don't think I could handle 500. So think about what size works for you. What can you maintain? Go lower than what you think you should do. So if you think you should do 500, I would start with 50 to 100. See how that feels. You can always increase it. So, do you need to make a formal list of all these people? You can, but oftentimes you will kind of come across them organically on social media. That's how I see it. For a while there, I was actually tracking all of my interconnections inside of a separate CRM, kind of like a networking CRM, and I was trying to keep in touch. It started to feel very, very stressful for me. Now, others of my colleagues, they say that is great because they know as long as they are setting reminders and touching base, every so often, that having like a system, a CRM that's telling them to, touch base with so and so actually feels good to them. So figure out what works for you. I'm going to share a couple ideas here too for those of you who are more of the list people and those who want to take more of the organic approach. The key is to be specific about who belongs in your inner circle. Most of the time, these people will be colleagues from your company, especially if you have a large organization. Many of these people may be within your organization in different departments. You could also have subject matter experts in your space. There could be industry influencers. There could be contractors or referral sources that you work with periodically. Could be a variety of people in here. So give these people attention when you can and be sure to stay on their radar, which can look a little bit different for each relationship. Sometimes you will be keeping very close touch with these people and messaging them every month, every few months, just to see what's going on. Maybe you do projects together. So it just depends on the connection. So adjust the level of communication based on the relationship that you have with them. All right. So identify your inner circle. Who are these people? Number two, message your inner circle at least once per year. So annually, that's what you're thinking. Okay, so what is the number of people that you can actually handle messaging and keeping in touch with every year? In a perfect scenario, you'll want to be in contact via email, LinkedIn direct messages, LinkedIn comments with everyone who's a part of your inner circle at least once per year. So be sure you know what they're up to, how you can support them, update each other on your professional objectives, and just do that small talk. And I feel like some of that is missing in today's day and age, especially where we feel a lot of times disconnected. Some of us are limited when it comes to travel and being able to meet up in person. So the more that we can do virtually, and even if it's just getting on a Zoom call and having a touch base with some of the people that really matter to you, do what works for your relationship. So this can be as simple as a LinkedIn message. This could be an email that says, I was thinking of you. It could even be an insightful comment on one of their posts or a recent professional accomplishment where you're just celebrating with them. The key here is being intentional. I have some LinkedIn friends who literally have spreadsheets of the people who matter. So they have all of their names, they have all of their LinkedIn profile links in there, and they track how often they touch base with their inner circle to ensure they are maintaining a healthy network. I think that is brilliant. I also think that's a little over the top for me. Like, I don't like spreadsheets, first of all. I don't really like lists. I really enjoy more of that organic engagement. So, there are some other ways to go about this. I like to touch base with someone in my inner circle on average once to twice per weekday. So somebody new. So if I'm thinking in terms of my week, I'm probably touching base with somebody inside my inner circle at least once or twice a day. Somebody different. Sometimes it's the same person. There's some back and forth. But if you just think, okay, 1 to 2 people per day, I'm touching base with, and I'm keeping up with them, kind of staying on their radar, commenting, engaging. A lot of times, some days I will have a lot of networking energy and I will touch base with, 20 people. But it just depends on how that week is going, how much deep work, all of that good stuff. Number three, watch your LinkedIn newsfeed. Or what I say is hit the bell. So if you don't know what the bell is that little section just underneath somebody's header image. And if you hit the bell, it LinkedIn is supposed to notify you. Does it always? I don't think it does, but it's supposed to notify you when that person posts to LinkedIn or shares a piece of content. So for those that are in your inner circle, I would highly recommend just going to their profiles and hitting the bell, just so you can kind of stay up to date with where when they are posting and you see it in your newsfeed and in your notifications. So if you like to take more of the organic approach to keeping up with your inner circle, this whole hit the bell thing is very, very helpful. So when you do this, just keep in mind you're going to get notifications when these people share a LinkedIn post or share something on LinkedIn. So some people also, another idea here, some people like to create engagement pods. You may have heard of these, you may have been recruited to join one of these. And this is where usually it's a group of like 10 to 12, 15 people, and they all agree to engage on each other's content. So it's kind of like a very inner circle thing. It does require a bit more thought and consideration. There are some cons to this approach because if LinkedIn thinks you are artificially commenting and engaging on each other's posts to boost them up, it's supposed to hurt your posts in the algorithm. So just kind of keep this in mind. There are heated debates on both sides of the spectrum. Some people love engagement pods and swear by them. Others say, whatever you do, please do not join an engagement pod. So if you are low risk and you don't want to risk any issues with LinkedIn and the algorithm, then I would recommend probably not joining an engagement pod. If you want to try it out for like a week or two, maybe get together with some of your friends and figure out if this is an approach that you want to try. So I'm a bit skeptical as I recently engaged in one of these pods and I saw everyone's posts at the top of my feed. So I'm like, obviously their posts are not getting hurt in the algorithm and we were all supporting each other. So I don't know. The jury is out on this one, but it is up to you if you want to test this out. It's a great way to keep in touch and be intentional, though. It does take a lot of effort. I was in this engagement pod and trying to keep up with where everybody was posting. It took me like a concentrated 20 to 30 minutes every single day that I was doing it, which was pretty exhausting. So just keep that in mind. It does require a lot of thought, especially if you're not just putting, spammy comments on people's posts. All right. And one other idea, if you have a Sales Navigator account, so this is a paid LinkedIn account, you can actually create lists of people so you can see their recent LinkedIn activity and news mentions in a separate feed inside Sales Navigator. This is fantastic if you already have a Sales Navigator account. I would not recommend spending the money on a Sales Navigator account if this is the only reason you'd be using it. But if you already have one, just keep in mind you can create lists in there for your inner circle and keep up with what they're doing if they're mentioned in the news. So this is really, really strategic in a way to kind of filter through all the noise and see everybody's posts in one single stream inside Sales Navigator. Basically, there is no right or wrong way to engage with your people, your inner circle. But when you do, be sure you are acting like a human and not automating this. This is one mistake I have seen a lot of people make. They are trying to be clever. They went to some networking class and they said, send this message out, this, little 2-line message. How are you doing? What are you up to these days? How's business going? Those feel completely spammy. So please do not send generic automated messages. It's one of the quickest ways to destroy trust with someone in your network. So please don't send them those. Take the time, actually reach out, see what they're doing. Even if you can't reach out to as many people, it's better than automating. This is not a good spot for automation, although I believe automation is great in a lot of other contexts. So tying this all together, your goal is to create more meaningful one-to-one connections with your LinkedIn network around your areas of passion and expertise by paying attention to their activity, intentionally reaching out, not just trying to get more people inside your network for the sake of more. So my challenge for you this week, take a look at your LinkedIn network and pick 10 people who you would consider inner circle people. hit the bells on their profile. So 10 people hit the bells on their LinkedIn profile. That's it. Just one thing. And then start paying attention and seeing their posts and like, oh, there's so and so. Let me see if I can engage on his or her post. So let's recap the meaningful connections process. So, first, we're identifying our inner circle. So, these are the people that should be in our inner circle. This is usually 50 to 100 people, all the way up to 500 if you are really good at organization and can keep up with that many people. Uh, Number two is messaging your inner circle at least annually. So you're keeping up with people that are in your inner circle. You're sending them a message, you're checking in, you're commenting on their posts. And then number three, you're watching your LinkedIn newsfeed. So if they are the types to share content, you are paying attention to what they're sharing and engaging where appropriate. So that's pretty much it. What additional questions do you have about creating these meaningful connections on LinkedIn? Leave them below in the comments or shoot me a private message. I am happy to answer them. They may even spark another follow up to this conversation. So, if you are looking for that extra edge to get you started on the right path with LinkedIn, to start finding these inner circle people, get on the wait list for the next cohort of the LinkedIn Accelerator. It's kicking off in July, which is right around the corner, like a month away. It is tailored to take you through all of the sections of your LinkedIn profile in just 5 days flat, so 1 week, and you're off to the LinkedIn races to start growing your network and getting conversations. If you're interested, here's the link to get on the wait list and find out a few more details. And until next week, I will see you on next week on Mondays with Mindi. Feel free to leave questions or comments below, and my inbox is open if you want to message me there. I will see you all then. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Bye for now.